Mr. Chairman, may I begin?
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to the committee print by the Committee on Homeland Security offered by Mr. Garcia of California, number 025.
Without objection, the reading is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes on his amendment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just introduce this amendment. It's a common sense amendment that will reinforce what numerous courts, our Supreme Court, have already said. Now, in this country, no one can be deported without due process. This amendment will block the administration from using any resources of any kind to remove people by using outdated laws without due process. Without these safeguards, it doesn't matter if you are a citizen or not. You could be documented or not. You could be an innocent law-abiding person and still face consequences. Now, if someone chooses to decide, or maybe the Trump administration, that you are an alien enemy of the United States, there could be serious consequences to follow. Now, maybe someone in government doesn't like your tattoos, or the color of your skin, or your social media presence, or what you're saying on a college campus. If you can't see a judge, no one can protect you, and you have no due process. Not even the Supreme Court can protect you if the President of the United States can ignore it, as he's doing so today. And we should make no mistake, this threat is real. Donald Trump explicitly said in the Oval Office that he wants to send, quote, homegrowns to El Salvador. Now, maybe my friends on the other side of the aisle are fine with everything Donald Trump is doing, but without the rule of law, people should be very afraid for our future, the future of our country, and the future of due process. A future president could come after a different group, and that's why this moment and this amendment is so important. This is about the Constitution. Now, we know that Donald Trump has already sent innocent people to El Salvador with absolutely no due process. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, has ordered the return of an individual who has had no due process. We also know that many of the folks that have been deported have no criminal records, have not faced or had access to judges or even been able to call their families. He has sent them instead to a brutal foreign prison with no oversight that could happen to anyone. And we also know now that U.S. citizens are being deported with no due process. Now, we heard earlier from my colleague, Representative Magaziner, and others about Andrea Hernandez. Mr. Romero was a gay designer and hairdresser who was falsely accused of gang affiliations because of simple tattoos that he had. He has no criminal record, is from a community that celebrates the King's Festival, which is why he had a crown tattoo, and now he's in danger. And even though he passed a credible fear interview, he's being held in horrific conditions. And let's remember, he actually went to his appointment he was given by our own government, showed up to the appointment, and then was deported with no due process. So he's doing what we've asked him to do, and then being sent to an El Salvador prison, and no one's heard from him now for over a few weeks. We know that Donald Trump has no credible evidence that he was involved in any sort of gang activity, and instead is violating his rights of due process, of which every person in this country has. Now, a lot of us, myself included, weren't born into the protections that all citizens have. I was an immigrant. I came here as a young child. I've had to go through paperwork. I've had to stand in long lines. I've learned English, and I've gone through many of the things that other migrants in this country go through. I've lived a large part of my life not a U.S. citizen. And so for me and for many others, this is also very personal. The Constitution should be protecting all of us and is the backbone of the rule of law. This amendment is for due process, for what I believe are true American values, and I urge everyone to support it, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields.
Mr.
Would
Chairman.
anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my point of order.
Gentleman withdraws his point of order. Would anyone else wish to speak on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Magaziner, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I have a video clip that I provided to the clerk that I would like to be played at the outset of my 5 minutes.
Or without objection?
Go ahead. And I would ask that my 5 minutes begin at the
Things
beginning.
are going in a radical direction, and then there's an overcorrection. So the overcorrection is lack of due process. The overcorrection is like round them all up, ship them to jail. Like, that's like some things that you say when you're not thinking things through. Like, what do you do about all the criminals? Take them all and send them to El Salvador.
Yeah.
What about due process? No, that. Well, here's the problem with that. What if you are an enemy of, let's not say any current president. Let's pretend we got a new president, totally new guy in 2028. And this is a common practice now of just rounding up gang members with no due process and shipping them to El Salvador. You're a gang member. No, I'm not. Prove it. What? I got to go to court. No,
Yeah.
no due process.
That's
Right?
dangerous, Joe.
That's dangerous.
dangerous.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. We got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. And I think due process exists for a reason, and the reason is it is horrific for someone to be accused of something they didn't do, be imprisoned for crimes they didn't commit, and then live in a cell, live in a cage with a bunch of
People who did commit.
Here it is, Benjamin Franklin. It's better 100 guilty persons should escape than one innocent person should suffer. That is wisdom
Yeah.
that has survived hundreds of years. It's incredibly accurate, and it is the foundation of freedom. Like, we have to make sure that these people are actually guilty, otherwise we become monsters. You can't, like, what is that, when you fight monsters, be careful that you don't become one?
Become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very important. It's very important. You know, you can't do that. You know, it's one of those things where to support one side of this, you have to deny some like basic human values. Either way, like to support just rounding people up and just assuming they're all gang members. I'm not saying they're doing that, but this is the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
They get a bunch of people in a room, they rope them all in, and one guy's just someone's cousin picking someone up to give him a ride home. That's possible.
And now you're back on the one innocent person now you're right back.
And what
with
if that dude is not doing anything wrong and he's got some stupid tattoos and they decide that this guy's a gang member, and now you're in a prison in El Salvador and you're not even from El Salvador. And now, you know, you were just a hairdresser or you were a tattoo artist
Family
or whatever
man,
you are.
yeah.
You came over here and maybe you got a green card and maybe you don't. Maybe you were just given asylum, because a lot of people from Venezuela were given asylum in America.
Yeah.
And then you get shipped to El Salvador where you're not even from El Salvador. So that the fact that exists scares the shit out of me.
Agree with Joe Rogan on everything, but I think that's very well said. Due process exists for a reason, so that mistakes don't get made and innocent people don't accidentally get shipped to prison, particularly prison in a foreign country. And let's be clear, this administration is capable of making mistakes. They accidentally fired all the people who guard the nuclear stockpile and then had to rehire them. They put war plans in an unsecured signal chat and invited a reporter in by accident. They put up insane tariffs and then the market tanked and they rolled a bunch of them back. The list goes on and on. They said they were going to cancel the Social Security hotline and then realized that was a mistake and walked that back. This administration is capable of making mistakes, just like anyone's capable of making mistakes. The whole reason we have due process, the whole reason we have courts, is so that people don't get sent to jail on a mistake. That is why Mr. Garcia's amendment is so important. Yes, let's deport criminals, but let's have due process to make sure that the people we're deporting actually are criminals and not innocent people who are being shipped to foreign prisons by accident. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Would anyone else wish to speak on the amendment?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Ranking Member, you're recognized.
I yield for as much time as he needs, Mr. Garcia.
Oh, no, sir, I was just going to ask for a recorded vote.
Oh, okay. I'll take my time
It's
back.
coming up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me say that, again, we are arguing due process. It is clear that in America, due process is fundamental. We fought wars in this country to abolish slavery. We did a lot of things in this country to make us better. And right now, we're headed in the opposite direction with some of these draconian acts that are being taken up by this administration. We're just trying to reset the table fundamentally to follow the law. We're not trying to change the law. We're trying to reinforce the current law as it exists. What we are seeing now is not who we are as a country. I implore my Republican colleagues to do soul searching and see whether or not what we are offering is some radical foreign idea called democracy. And if you agree with us, you'll support these common sense amendments. Now, if you don't agree with democracy, then you'll oppose it. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Would anyone else wish to speak on the amendment? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. And the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute is not adopted.
Mr. Chairman,
You recognize.
on that, we ask for a recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested, and pursuant to Rule 7C, further proceedings on this question are postponed. Are there any other amendments to the amendment in the nature of the substitute? Mr. Swalwell. All right.
Amendment at the desk.
Mr. Swalwell has amendment at desk.
Mr. Chairman, I seek to be recognized.
You're recognized.
I reserve a point of order.
Point of order is reserved. Clerk will distribute the amendment.
Oh, is he next?
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I jumped my dear friend from Michigan. He's number 5, I'm number 6. Shri, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'll withdraw, and I'll go next. So excited, Mr. Chairman, about this amendment.
The gentleman withdraws his amendment.
Yeah, Shri was next.
Okay. So I think the confusion is that this is the Tanadar amendment that's been distributed, but, this is the amendment we're on. Okay, all right. We're on this amendment that just got passed out, so there's no reason to withdraw.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right.